I have just completed 1 week of being virtually sober from all substances, unless you count things like caffeine. But anyway, yeah, I've been sober for a week, and I'd like to report the changes that I've had in the way I'm living my life and everything else. So, number one, obviously, I'm a lot more clear headed. I'm a lot more thoughts come to my mind much quicker, and I'm able to communicate with people much better than when I'm on substances. Number two, which is kind of the same thing as number one, but I'll say it anyway, my autism symptoms have decreased very rapidly and very intensely. Like, they're way less than they were before. I found that I wasn't getting as overstimulated by things. I was able to go around like the store and interact with people, and it was okay. I wasn't acting really weird and like really obviously autistic or anything like that. I acted like kind of normal. Number three, I had a lot more energy, but I could still have more energy because I've been exercising less than I usually do. But I did have at least all the energy required to do my work properly and go through meetings at work, and it didn't drain me. And I still felt energetic enough at the end of the day to actually get some additional things done, rather than just like laying in bed all day or something. Number four, I find interesting, but it happens every time I get sober, and it kind of ties in with what I said previously about autism symptoms decreasing. But I have much, I have a much higher desire to actually interact with people and like talk to my friends and even talk to like family members. I feel more like, I guess loneliness would be the word. Like, if I'm not around anyone, then I'll start feeling like I actually have like a craving to be around people, which most of my life I didn't have. And when I'm using substances, I don't really have at all. I don't really get lonely when I use substances. I'm guessing I guess I subconsciously use it as like a band-aid for maybe times when I feel loneliness, something like that. But because I'm able to communicate with people more effectively, I am not as lonely when I'm sober, because people actually manage to sort of like me, or they at least pretend to. Whereas when I'm using, I just like, I tend to sabotage my relationships pretty quickly, especially if I've been using for a long time. So, just another reason not to use. Number five, I tend to become much more goal oriented. I've actually been thinking about starting a master's degree. So I've started realizing that I'm really passionate about, obviously, my own psychology. I'm like obsessed with it, honestly. Like, pretty much all these videos that I've been uploading on this channel have been basically psychoanalyzing myself. I really love doing it. I don't know why. I guess it's a way to improve myself, but I just find it so fascinating. I think maybe one reason is because I was so bad with people as a kid, and even like in my early 20s, that I just found it like, I found other people to be really foreign, and I didn't understand how they worked. But part of it was because I was so disconnected with my own feelings. So there's this thing that's really common in autism called alexithymia, which is basically not knowing your own feelings, not recognizing that you have feelings or emotions, and that can lead to a number of damaging things, like your emotions coming out at the completely wrong time, or you inadvertently bottling up your emotions and then they come out all at once, and like meltdowns, stuff like that. So it's really not good to be alexithymic. And so I feel like when I was a kid, I was much more lexiphomic than I am now. Now it seems like I've either like trained myself or I don't know, like I've done a lot of work in therapy where I'm very acutely aware of my emotions and I'm very acutely aware of the bodily sensations that I feel when I am experiencing a certain emotion. And so that's really helped me to develop cognitive empathy for other people. I think I already had affective empathy. So, if someone doesn't know the difference, cognitive empathy is basically being able to put yourself into someone else's shoes and being able to think cognitively about like how another person would feel. Affective empathy is feeling the same emotions as another person due to seeing them exhibit an emotion in front of you. But anyway, see, I'm doing it already. I'm like info dumping about psychology because I think it's so fascinating. So anyway, I realized that I really like psychology, and I always like, I tried to hide it or like, I was kind of in denial about it because I like psychology has a weird reputation. The people who go into that field, and I didn't want to be associated with that reputation. I majored in computer science because obviously that has like a great reputation. I do, I like programming, but it's not this like diehard passion like psychology is. But anyway, yeah, I didn't want to be associated with the types of people that go into psychology, first of all, and it doesn't make that much money in most cases. You have to be extremely good to make money unless you're like a therapist, which I'm I would never be a therapist. Like, no, that's not happening. Um, but anyway, my dream job would have been, I think, to be like a psychology researcher, like someone who does research experiments on either on subjects or just like analyzes research data and writes papers about it. Um, Doing research in psychology, I think, would be so cool. There are a number of topics that I find or I would find really interesting to do research on. Obviously, I'm really interested in autism because I have it, but there are several other things as well. But anyway, I'm not going to do that because, one, I don't think I would be like, I don't think I would have the skill set to actually get to the top of the field because you pretty much have to be at the top in order to even make any money from it. But also, I don't want to be in school for 15 years, like doing a PhD part time, because I can't really take off of work because I have family to support. So, yeah. So, I decided to compromise or try to find a compromise between what I'm doing now, which is in computer science, and what I'd like to do, which is in psychology. And I found this field called human factors psychology, and it seems pretty interesting to me. So it's basically the people who do human factors, they analyze how people use things, and they try to find, they try to come up with better ways for people to do it. Um, for example, there are a lot of applications in the field for like with like medical devices. Um, I was reading something where like there was a medical device that nurses or doctors use that it was, it was really important. It was like a life sustaining device where if you press the wrong button, the person could like they could have a higher chance of dying. Um, and a human, like a team of human factors psychologists recreated the device so that it improved the rate of survival by like 20% or something, which is a huge deal. So, not saying I'd like to work in medical devices specifically, but stuff like that with like improving processes, I feel like I've always been good at. Um, it's kind of funny because I feel like I'm always that dumb guy who like does things wrong, but the fact that I am like that allows me to see flaws in processes and things. Um, maybe it's because of having autism. I don't really know. But that's potentially another strength in that job, actually, along with having an understanding of how people work, which I think, to be honest, my understanding is pretty good. It's at least much better than average. Like, people don't do the work, the level of psychological work that I have because they didn't have to. They didn't have to, like, pull themselves out of psychosis and pull themselves out of poverty and pull them, like, most people didn't have to do that. I'm not saying that people didn't have hardships, but most people objectively have not started in as poor of a mental state as I did. Um, and it gives me a lot of, I guess, empathy for other people. And not that I'm this empath that loves people, because I'm not, but it gives me the ability to kind of see why certain flaws that other people have are there, and it also gives me the ability to see where other people might mess up um, when they're going through a process. So maybe something that I could end up doing is, like, in software, being involved in the programming still, but um, maybe my role is more towards, like, being empathetic with the users and understanding how to improve the process to make it easier for the users, because there are a lot of positions out there like that, like user experience designers and stuff like that. Um, but they tend to, like, if you have a programming background, they tend to be more interdisciplinary, and you can also get a much higher salary out of that too. So I think it's a pretty good compromise for me, because I have been very sick of my life for quite a while, and I think that's been contributing to some of the drug use, to be honest. But now that I've been sober, I'm a bit more clear-headed, and I'm able to think of some solutions. So I am really grateful for that. I just kind of hope that I don't sabotage it again, because I do every time, and then I can't talk, or I can't really do anything for several days after, because my body is very sensitive to substances and everything else, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is, I guess. I don't really know how to cure that or stop it. But anyway, I guess you get the point by now. Being sober, it's so much better. It's objectively so much better, but I keep sabotaging it, like I said, over and over. Um, and I think that it may be because, like, when I was a kid, I had horrible self esteem. I said that I would just openly say that I hated myself and that I didn't want to be alive anymore. And, like, when anything bad happened that involved me, I immediately assumed it was my fault. And I think that deep down, I still have a lot of that, but I've been able to kind of cover it up, and it has naturally gotten quite a bit better, because, like I said, I didn't want to be alive for a lot of my life, and I was in psychosis, basically, um, at certain points right after I became an adult, and none of that's there anymore. But I think I do still have a very poor self-esteem, and I honestly think that I feel that I deserve to be treated badly and that I deserve a bad life, which isn't really true, because I don't think anyone deserves anything, but I still have a lot of shame towards myself and self hate. Um, so there's a lot that I need to work on still, but I think I can do it. I still think that my 30s will be much better than my 20s. I've said that many times. And I think that by the time I'm in my 30s, I'll be pretty normal. That's my honest opinion, because I've made so much progress over the years that it's like it almost astounds me. Like, I don't mean to sound like, you know, like tooting my own horn or something, but I have made so much progress, and I guess that's part of why I'm so passionate about psychology and my own psychology, because there's a lot of reward in it for me. But I, I'm really interested in other people's psychologies too, even if I get it wrong sometimes. Um, I notice that I think I get it right a lot more times than I get it wrong. I'm not good at like immediate social situations, but I'm usually pretty good at figuring things out about people. But it doesn't matter because I'm not trying to be a therapist or something. But I really like psychology, and I think that this idea of getting involved in human factors could be something that's right for me. So I'm really glad that during the time that I've been sober, I've been able to figure that out. Um, so just another reason to be sober and be grateful for being sober. Yeah.